Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jing. Let's first take a look at all of the great stories we've got ready just for you tonight. One of the many COVID loan fraudsters was recently sentenced to several years in prison. We'll hear just how much he got from the state and what he spent it on. A housing program in Los Angeles is only getting a portion of homeless people into long-term housing. That's as the homeless count numbers came out earlier this month, citing an increase over the last 2 years. And a young designer has made his version of a Roomba on the seas. His ocean cleaning robot cruises through the waters, picking up garbage to later be disposed. We'll hear from the designer on why he built this robot. A California man was sentenced to 4 years in prison for his role in abusing COVID-19 relief loans. He was convicted of fraudulently obtaining the loans and spending the funds for personal use, including purchases of multiple high-priced properties.
36-year-old Irvine resident Reddy Budamala pleaded guilty to 1 federal count each of bank fraud and money laundering. He was arrested last February while attempting to flee to Mexico via the San Isidro border crossing. According to court papers, Budamala launched the scheme back in 2019 before the COVID-19 outbreak after forming and acquiring 3 shell companies with no operations and an additional 3 businesses. He was given over $5.15 million in relief loans that he used for personal expenses. He also used the funds to purchase multiple luxury properties in Eagle Rock, Malibu, and Irvine. A statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office said that the listed addresses of the companies were non-existent or residential. The guilty plea comes as the CEO of LexisNexis Risk Solutions Government Division told NBC's KCRA3 that his company estimates COVID fraud in the state is over $32 billion. Diane C. Bass, Budamala's defense attorney, said that her client became desperate after falling on hard times. She commented, quote, "It was his intention to invest the funds, which he did, and then repay the loans, but he did not get a chance to do that before being arrested." Budamala was ordered to pay $5.15 million in restitution to the Small Business Administration and will be serving 4 years in a federal prison. He will then be deported to his native country of India upon completion of his prison sentence.
Only a portion of homeless people in Los Angeles are moving from interim housing to permanent housing. That's as the homeless population rose by just over 4% in a 2-year period.
The Los Angeles Homeless Rehousing Program provides temporary housing for 20,000 adults. According to data released by the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority on Monday, around 1/5 of people living in interim housing shelters in Los Angeles moved into permanent housing over the last fiscal year. The data was part of a new set of key performance indicator metrics presented by the agency. The goal is to measure the progress of people experiencing homelessness through the rehousing system. Molly Reisman, Chief Program Officer of LAHSA, said at a news briefing that ideally, an interim shelter bed could serve 4 or 5 people a year. LAHSA's most recent homeless count, released earlier this month, showed a 4.1% increase in the number of homeless people in Los Angeles since 2020. The Los Angeles Times reported last week that LAHSA returned $29 million in federal grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development between 2015 and 2020. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Affidavits that had been publicly released by the FBI prompted 3 Anaheim city officials to return several campaign donations. The donations in question came from donors with links to individuals who are under investigation for corruption and fraudulent payment schemes.
Earlier this year, the FBI publicly released 2 affidavits that detailed alleged fraud and corruption involving multiple Anaheim officials. These developments prompted 3 Anaheim City Council members to return campaign donations from those involved. Anaheim Mayor Pro Tem Trevor O'Neill, along with Councilman Avelino Valencia and Councilwoman Gloria Maai, returned several $1,000s in donations. The first affidavit named the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce's CEO, Todd Ament, and an unnamed political consultant, widely believed to be Jeff Flint, former CEO of FSB Public Affairs and Core Strategic Group. The second affidavit identified former Anaheim Mayor Harry Sadu. It described an alleged pay-for-play scheme involving the sale of Anaheim Stadium to the development company of Angels baseball team owner Artie Moreno. Sadu resigned in May but has not been arrested or charged with a crime. The Angels franchise and its owners are also not accused of any wrongdoing. According to campaign finance records, the return donations were all linked to Ament, Flint, Sadu, and Moreno. Anaheim Mayor Pro Tem Trevor O'Neill, who assumed mayoral duties following Sadu's resignation, returned $9,600 in donations to multiple entities that were affiliated with Ament and Flint. City Councilman Avelino Valencia returned $2,500 back to FSB Public Affairs, where Flint is currently on a leave of absence due to the investigations. Councilwoman Gloria Maai also returned campaign donations totaling $2,200 to the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce and another $2,200 to Ament's consulting firm. In August, the City Council kicked off an independent investigation which will audit all campaign contributions and conflicts of interest. Officials are estimating that the investigation could cost between $1.5 million and $2.5 million. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
A company has created a robot to pick up trash and debris from the water. NTD's Eileen Ng learned how it's done right where the robot is deployed.
It looks like a floating Roomba, but this automated cleaner is called the Plastics Piranha, designed and engineered to remove plastics from the water. Michael Ahrens founded Clean Earth Rovers in 2017. He was inspired in high school after a classmate gave a speech on ocean plastics.
Coming out of that class, I was very frustrated. As an 18-year-old, I'm learning about this massive world problem, and from there, my inspiration and kind of obsession with the issue and who was out there and solving it grew very rapidly.
He formed his team in 2019. They started building the rover in February 2021.
It's come a very long way in just 2 years. It came from being something that I designed preliminarily to bringing in some very skilled engineers and people who have taken that and grandfathered it into what you see here today. And they've done an amazing job. It works great, it looks great, and it's just such an awesome thing to finally see in the water.
The rover can collect 100 pounds of waste per trip from skimming marina facilities. It holds the trash in the net attached to the front of the machine.
It's an autonomous device that will skim the water for trash, dead fish, oil, and as it's doing that, it is also reporting the water chemistry to you, so you know if there are any toxins or algal blooms that are about to take place. And it helps with public health and safety measures, but also building data infrastructure around coastal waterways.
It collects water data to track both oxygen and dissolved oxygen, as well as temperature, pH, and more. There are limitations for picking up larger waste, like logs. In terms of distinguishing trash and debris from wildlife, Aaron says usually they move out of the rover's way.
It doesn't actually have any type of image recognition on it. It uses a LiDAR system for collision avoidance. And then it does have a camera for live stream video that you can actually watch what it's picking up in live time.
It can be controlled with a remote or programmed to sweep on its own using the autonomous system.
From your laptop, you would have a map of your marina facility. You would click different geotagged spots on that map, and from there it would do a sweeping pattern across the information that you gave it.
The fully electric rover can run for 8 hours before requiring charge. The rover is available for rental on a monthly basis, and Daryl, the owner of the San Pablo Marina, is happy to have it on his waters for 3 months.
It's a nice machine. It runs really well. It's portable. It's does the task it's designed to. I think part of the reason that I was interested in having it here was to see how it would perform in a saltwater marine environment.
Since it's a relatively clean marina, they've only picked up a little trash.
It's super easy to operate. Anybody can operate it. It's much easier to operate than a drone because you're only working in 2 dimensions. It can't drop out of the sky.
A second rover is almost done. Aaron says it will be deployed in New York's Hudson River next month. Eileen Ng, NTD News, Richmond, California.
A Southern California zoo successfully cloned a rare wild horse in 2020. Now it's with others of its kind.
The San Diego Zoo welcomed the endangered Przewalski's horse, named Kurt, who has been introduced to a female of a species named Holly. Wildlife care experts at the zoo hope Kurt learns the behaviors of a wild horse through Holly. He was cloned from the DNA of a Przewalski's horse that was frozen 42 years ago. It's hoped that once he matures in 3 or 4 years, he will be able to breed and bring more genetic diversity to his species. Formerly extinct in the wild, the Przewalski's horse has survived for the past 40 years almost entirely in zoos around the world. Several wild herds have been reintroduced to their native habitat, the grasslands of China and Mongolia.
We're going to take a short break right now, but we've got a lot of great stories ready for you when we come back. Here's a quick look at them. As more and more commuters head back to work, one public commuter rail line in Southern California is offering a discount to riders in the coming months. That's in celebration of its birthday. One of the most widely spoken dialects of Chinese in America is decreasing in popularity. Several locals talked about how they're disconnecting from their roots and what they're doing to get back to them. That and more on California Today. Driving to and from work or school every day can be an hours-long headache. To ease the pain, many commuters in Southern California are jumping out of their cars and trucks and discovering a different and perhaps more affordable way to get around town. NTD's Bill Thomas has more.
In celebration of Metrolink's 30th birthday, the rail service has a special offer for folks who are tired of high gas prices, brutally long commutes, and expensive vehicle repair. It may be time to get out of the car, jump into a train, and maybe even save some money. Karen Baker, a spokesperson for Metrolink, says discounts are a great incentive to get people into a train car.
Metrolink has been around since 1992. Later in October, we will be celebrating our 30th birthday. And we will be celebrating by providing our loyal riders with 30% off our monthly pass. We're doing that so we can get people out of their cars and give them more reasons to ride the train.
The cut in price for the monthly passes will last 3 months with some restrictions.
So the discount will be available for the months of October, November, and December of 2022, and the price will really depend on where our riders are starting and where they're ending. So when they purchase their ticket, they actually have to select an origin station and a destination station, and the price will depend on that.
Baker says the monthly pass works well for a lot of people, but there are also other ticket options.
It depends on how often you ride. So if you're riding 2 or 3 times a week, then it makes a lot of sense to get the monthly pass, especially with this discount that we're offering. If you're riding very infrequently, you might just buy a single ticket. However, if you're still riding regularly, but maybe not as frequently as you used to, we do have other passes available, such as a 5-day Flex Pass and our 10-day Flex Pass.
Metrolink serves 6 counties in Southern California, including LA, Orange, Ventura, San Diego, as well as Riverside and San Bernardino counties, and that means a lot of passengers.
Our ridership today, pre-pandemic, was about 40,000. Obviously, since the pandemic, that has gone down. We are now a little less than half of our pre-pandemic ridership, but with people going back to the office, students going back to school, we're climbing our way back up, and we hope that this discount that we're offering will get people on the train.
Baker says the train is better than driving because you can be more productive.
You can get some work done, check your emails, text, tweet, scroll your Facebook feed, even just take a nap.
And most cars don't have facilities, but Metrolink thought of everything.
I'm happy to say that we have bathrooms on our trains, and all of our trains are very clean. We clean and sanitize them daily, and that includes the bathrooms, of course.
But for those people who are catching a ride on the rails, Baker stresses the need for safety around the tracks.
Always stay alert around railroad tracks. That means put your phone down, take headphones off. always assume that there will be a train coming. We are not the only trains that run along these tracks, so there could be a freight train coming. And my final piece of advice would be, if you're in a car and your car gets stuck on the tracks, get out of the car immediately and move as far away from the car as you can.
Southern California is a massive region, and while Metrolink might not be right for everyone, they are a unique travel alternative. The trains average about 38 miles per hour, including stops, and if you take the train to work, you might even be able to squeeze in a nap. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Speakers of one of the most common foreign languages in California are afraid coming generations are losing their roots. That language is Cantonese, one of the many Chinese dialects.
Cantonese. It's spoken by nearly all the locals living in San Francisco's Chinatown and by more than 80 million people worldwide. In San Francisco, the majority of the city's estimated 250,000 residents of Chinese descent still speak Cantonese, as the language continues to be passed down from family members. But despite that, some Cantonese speakers are concerned that the use of the language is declining.
And Cantonese means a lot to the 85 million native speakers in the world. In North America, it also means a lot to the heritage language speakers.
Professor Sik Lee Denig was born in Hong Kong and later moved to the United States, where she taught Cantonese at Stanford for more than 20 years. But in 2020, she decided to retire after she said the university cut funding to the school's Cantonese program while maintaining its Mandarin classes. Mandarin is spoken throughout the majority of mainland China, Taiwan, and other Chinese diaspora areas.
Cantonese is not a dialect of Mandarin. Some people think that way. They have their unique history, their unique development.
After retiring, Denig founded the Cantonese Alliance of North America, aiming to preserve the Cantonese language and culture in the continent.
A lot of them talk about how Cantonese connects them with their roots, with the culture, with the communities, with their parents, with the grandparents. That is very important to their own confidence and cultural identity.
In the U.S. and other Western countries, Cantonese has traditionally been the more common tongue of the Chinese language. This is due to early Chinese immigrants coming mainly from Cantonese-speaking southern China and Hong Kong.
Half of my family came over from Hong Kong, and so my dad speaks Cantonese, my family speaks Cantonese, and I never really learned it fully growing up and wanted to be able to have conversations with my grandma. Sometimes there's grandmas on the bus that need help, and it would be nice to be able to fully communicate with them and help them out.
For Chung and many others, knowing the language helps them communicate better with community members.
Many doctors that come to my Cantonese class, because they told me they have many Cantonese-speaking patients, so they need to communicate with the patients. And then also nurses. Nurses are required, if they can speak Cantonese, they can earn higher salary.
Cantonese professor Grace Yu was born in Hong Kong and has taught Cantonese at a community college for more than 30 years.
And then I have some real estate agents, social workers, lawyers who have clients that speak Cantonese, and Caucasian people that have spouses that speak Cantonese. They like to learn their spouse's culture and language.
A linguistics professor talked about the importance of one's environment.
Less people are speaking Cantonese in traditionally Cantonese-speaking areas, which is worrying. In the past, people from everywhere who came to Guangzhou would be able to speak Cantonese because of the peers. Their peers would teach them. The peers would teach them Cantonese in the past. But now only Cantonese families can pass on the language to the kids.
In China, people have voiced concerns over the years about the drop in Cantonese in the city of Guangzhou, formerly Canton, the birthplace of Cantonese. They say there's been an influx of Mandarin speakers in the region as the technology sector grows. Some also say the Chinese Communist Party has placed pressure to favor the Mandarin language, leading Cantonese to become less popular.
I'm very sad to see the Hong Kong education system has become sort of monolithic. And Cantonese is such a rich, diverse, rigorous language, and then with an attempt to sort of eliminate it, it is very sad.
But Cantonese has maintained its omnipresence in Hong Kong. It is the city's lingua franca and is used by 90% of the population as a daily language.
We are already witnessing the shift. That's why we need to keep Cantonese alive.
For the Cantonese speakers living outside of China, getting their children to learn the language from a young age is important to having a strong grasp on their heritage language.
Now we're going to send it over to NTD's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Luis Sinisterra scored twice and Wilmer Barrios added another as Colombia fought back from 2 goals down to beat Mexico 3-2 in a friendly at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California on Tuesday. Mexico took the lead in the 5th minute when winger Alexis Vega scored a penalty after Luis Diaz brought down Uriel Antuna inside the box, and Gerardo Arteaga made it 2-0 after finishing off a team move in the 28th minute. Colombia hit back after the break, with Sinisterra heading home goal in the 48th minute and scoring again 3 minutes later. Barrios then completed Colombia's comeback with a brilliant volley in the 67th. Mexico is due to play 2 more friendlies in November before the World Cup kicks off in Qatar, where they will face Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and Poland in Group C, while Colombia failed to qualify for the World Cup. Jorge Alfaro drew a 2-out full-count walk-off walk from Craig Kimbrell in the bottom of the 10th inning to give San Diego a win over visiting Los Angeles. Padres starter Blake Snell held the Dodgers scoreless on 1 hit, but left after throwing 96 pitches in 5 innings. Instead, Pierce Johnson got the win. Dodgers starter Tyler Anderson retired the last 16 Padres he faced in his 6-inning stint, after giving up 2 runs on 3 hits in the first. Craig Kimbrell took the loss. Padres 4, Dodgers 3. Joe Adell's 8th-inning single drove in Matt Duffy from second base, lifting Los Angeles over Oakland in Anaheim, California. Duffy had 2 hits and scored twice, and the Angels' Levon Soto went 2 for 3 with a sacrifice fly. Nick Allen hit a 2-run double for Oakland, and Shea Langoliers tallied 2 hits and scored. Angels 4, Athletics 3. Jock Pederson hit Erman Marquez's first pitch for a home run, Logan Webb struck out 7 in 5 innings, and San Francisco downed visiting Colorado. J.D. Davis chipped in with 3 hits, including a homer for the Giants, who won for the 7th time in their past 8 games. Webb allowed just the 1 run on 5 hits and 1 walk. Tyler Rogers, Scott Alexander, and Camilo Duvall went the rest of the way. Charlie Blackmon and Sean Bouchard each had 2 hits for the Rockies. Giants 5, Rockies 2. And that's all for sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd love for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jing. Have a wonderful evening.